Yeah, still is difficult. So anywho, I'm going to pretend that no one knows Original Sin and just tell you everything. So even if I'm repeating myself, don't stop me. We already know, I don't care. So it's Divinity Original Sin, a party-based RPG that you can play in single player and in multiplayer. In multiplayer it's drop-in, drop-out multiplayer, so the guy who joins you, or the girl, takes over one of the party members. You can have a party up to 4 people, but the story is actually about those 2 guys, so they will always be in your party, and the extra 2 guys are henchmen that you can hire in different towns. So you can actually play this with 4 guys, but the story will always be around these 2 guys, and it's about them because they're the only ones on the good side that can use source magic. So all the bad guys can use source magic, but they're the only ones who do the thing on the good side. That's also why we're the heroes of the game, because we can turn the balance in all the combat, and that's why everyone loves us. Also because we're funny. And it's a Divinity game. It's a prequel to the entire series. And in a Divinity game you have to be able to interact with everything in the world as long as it's not too heavy and not nailed to the ground. So you can't lift houses and stuff, but you can pick up all the other stuff and you can throw them around. And in multiplayer you get funny stuff, and Benoit just threw that in my way because I want to pick that thing up and that one, and I'm gonna go for that one as well. Could you like hold the control key for me, because I'm holding a microphone. Okay. And if you hold control and click an item, then you actually destroy it. So you can move it around and pick it up and do all kinds of stuff. Now, the barrel was apparently filled with water, and that leaves a puddle of water. And with our source magic, we can turn that water into ice using the Ice Dragon skill. So the source magic is actually built around the 4 elements of nature, earth, wind, fire, and water. And we created this rock, paper, scissors system around earth, wind, and fire, and water. So with a fireball, I can turn the ice back into water because it melts and it became water again. So at this moment that might seem a bit silly, but in combat we're going to use the surfaces and our skills to our advantage. So keep on walking, and there's 2 soldiers here bickering about should we go in, shouldn't we. Apparently they're scared to go up to the lighthouse, but their captain told them to check up on it because he thinks that it's haunted. And in this dialogue they actually kind of persuade us to do their jobs for them, and they say, that's just grand that you want to do that for us. We'll go to the back and guard everything there. And so actually they're just chicken. So we go up to the lighthouse for them, and the atmosphere kind of changed, so there must be something wrong here. And we see a ghost here, but he's apparently friendly, we can talk to them. So a haunted lighthouse, not that much. So when we talk to him, we find out that he is a ghost because he committed suicide, and he committed suicide because he killed the woman that he loves out of jealousy, and now he has to roam the world as a ghost. Often in the game you can talk to your party members about certain topics. So when you experience something or when you just had a dialogue, you can give your opinion about that topic. For instance, here the topic is crimes of passion. So if you murder someone, you're a murderer. If you murder someone out of jealousy and out of blind rage because you love them, does that also make you a murderer, or is that like a different type or a different class of criminal? So these topics don't have a good and a wrong answer. They're not black and white. So it's like the gray area that we're going for. And so we can talk to each other in multiplayer, and I can say he's a monster, or I can feel sorry for him. And Benoit on his screen can do the same. And these dialogues, they will further define the relationship between the characters in the game. And our idea is that if you're playing this in co-op mode, that you talk to whoever you're playing it with, that you start talking about this, because it's the kind of thing that you can really have nice discussions about. So this was maybe a bit of a serious topic, but we also have more lighthearted ones. So that you have funny stuff going on with your girlfriend if she would be playing this together with you. I started going back north, and there's skeletons and a zombie coming out of the ground. And as you can see, combat in Original Sin is turn-based. And we work with action points, and I just have enough action points to go up to that skeleton and smack him around. It's now their turn. And as you can see, the zombie, his attack is actually puking on people. And when he does that, he poisons them, but he also leaves a puddle of poison. So whenever you have to go through it, you will be poisoned. When you're standing in there, the poison damage will be even more. So it's now Benoit's turn. And even in combat, you can still play around with items. You can throw stuff around, and the idea is that you use the environment and its items to your advantage in combat. So I'm going to step out of the poison puddle, so that I'm not taking that much damage anymore. And this barrel, it's not another water barrel, it's an oil barrel. So if you know that I can do a fireball, that combination will blow that thing up. Also, in the rock, paper, scissors system of the 4 elements, fire goes over acid. So acid belongs to the earth elements, and the acid surface will turn into a fire surface. So now, with the explosion, I killed 2 skeletons, and also because the zombie was caught, he's now on fire, taking burning damage, and we killed him with 1 shot. Now, obviously there's like friendly fire, so I'm also on fire now. But again, playing with the elements, if we make it rain, we create water, and water puts out the fire. Not only on me, but also the lava surface that was here is going away slowly. I need to pick up something that the guy dropped. Okay, there it is. So now we're wet from the rain, which took out the fire, but now we're, for instance, more susceptible to lightning attacks. They do more damage. So we walk back. And now we can just wander off and go and try to find the captain of these guys and tell him that we found out what was wrong with the lighthouse. Or we can choose to tell these guys or not to tell these guys. Now every time in Original Sin that you have to make a decision in a dialogue, you are in conflict in a dialogue over a decision, the RPG system in the background will roll some dice and take some stats of us into account and see who wins the dialogue. So apparently here Benoit won, and we're going to tell the soldiers about what was going wrong at the lighthouse. And they're very happy that they know, and they're going to brag about it to their captain without actually doing anything. Here I'm gonna pick up some apples. So why am I picking up all this junk? You might think. It's not junk, I reply. Because I know that in an RPG you're picking up weapons and armor, and in Divinity you're also picking up apples and logs of wood. So why am I doing that? In Divinity, out of the seemingly useless stuff, you can create something useful. So for instance, if I combine an apple with a healing potion, I create a detox potion that'll help against poisoning because apples have a detoxing effect. If I use a poisonous mushroom on a weapon, it turns that into a poisonous weapon, and that'll do poison damage to my enemies. And with a small knife and a piece of wood, I actually now created a little wooden figurine, and the wooden figurine is like the first step of creating a voodoo doll, and I can use voodoo dolls against my enemies. Now there's literally dozens of different item combinations like this in the game. And of course, you don't always have to find them out yourself. You will by accident, you can by experimenting, but people will also be talking about them. You will find books about them in the world. For instance, the voodoo doll is really intricate to get working, so we will actually tell people that they can do that. Speaking of items, a very important item in the Divinity games is always the teleporter pyramids. And you can use those to teleport instantly from one spot to the other. So if you use a teleporter pyramid, it takes you to the location of where the other pyramid is. And it's always this guy here that gives you the teleporter pyramids in our games. So we gave him a little cameo here so that he can give you the teleporter pyramids. The problem is, normally these things come in pairs, and he only gave me one. And he said, if you use this one, I don't know what's going to happen. You might end up at the bottom of the ocean. You might end up in the belly of a whale. I don't know where the other thing is. So I'm going to take my chances and use it. So I'm teleported to the location of the other pyramid. And I find myself in the bathroom of a woman just at that moment taking a bath. Imagine that. That's the way our designers' brains works. So she tells me to take a hike. I'm going to be the gentleman in this dialogue and apologize, because I didn't really like the other dialogue options. And pick up my teleporter pyramid so we can use it in the future. She's not really going to come out of her bath, so I can take whatever I want from that room. And these guards reacted to her screaming. So they're saying, what are you doing inside this house? And in some dialogues, you'll be able to use your stats to intimidate people or to charm people. And it doesn't always work, but if it does work, they will leave you alone. So the guards didn't do anything. If my intimidation wouldn't have worked, then they would give me a warning or give me a fine. So, as I said, nothing is junk in Divinity, or not much. So a bucket makes a great helmet, I think. And a broom is a great weapon to smack people around with. And as you can see on the left screen, Benoit can still do whatever he wants. So the party doesn't always have to stick together. Every party member is free to go wherever they want. Even if you're playing this in single player, you can tell the party member to stay close, to follow you, to stay, or that you want full control over them. But now that we have the teleporter pyramids, it's only one click away for Benoit to join back up with me, because I'm carrying the other teleporter pyramid. I'm going to give you another example of what you can do with teleporter pyramids. So I just asked that guy to let me into his house. So normally he's a shopkeeper, but I'm not interested in the stuff that he has for sale. I'm interested in this paper. But you can't just steal from people. They will react to you coming into their houses uninvited. They will react to you stealing stuff. So he said, put that back, and I threw it back on the ground. Now, if I really want that thing, I can kill him, but I will use the more civil solution for stealing. And I'll throw my teleporter pyramid in a corner and go back outside. And now I'm just waiting until he's outside again. The door is locked again, so I can't just get in, but I dropped my pyramid there, so using the other one, I can just jump into his house and pick up the thing without him seeing me doing it. Now, the door is still closed, so I'm just gonna teleport back outside. And he can't react because he didn't see me stealing his thing. Why do I need the portrait? It's the next step in creating the voodoo doll, because a voodoo doll has to resemble one of your enemies. So this is the portrait of an orc. Now this is the figurine of an orc, and if I use voodoo dust on it, I've created my own voodoo doll. So if in combat I find this orc, I can use it during combat to kill him or take some health points away at least. Now we're going to the beach right now to show you that in Divinity you always have consequences for the actions and the choices you've made. So sometimes there are immediate consequences, like people giving you experience for doing things, or gold, or an item, or they teach you a magic spell. But sometimes the consequences come 5 minutes later or even 5 hours later, so they have an impact on the world. For instance, these two guys are the soldiers that had to go up and check on the lighthouse, and now they're bragging to their captain how they killed armies of undead. And I can now interrupt them and talk to the captain and either tell him the truth, or I can support these guys and say, yeah, they're the best soldiers you've ever had. And again, it's a decision that we're making, and Benoit is close enough, so he always gets, he also gets a say in this dialogue. And apparently we're going to lie and say they're the best soldiers you've ever had. And his reaction is, they're very good, I'm going to promote them to the rank of sergeant. So if we would have told him the truth, he would actually fire those guys from the army and then they would wander around, and not knowing what to do, they would also take up the profession of adventuring because it must be a lot of fun. But if you do that, they interfere with your business a lot, and that's not fun. But now that they are sergeants, but they're really chickens as well, they don't really do a lot, and they also disrupt the story. Another example of choice and consequence is these guys here. They caught an orc female and gave her a love potion, so now she's not harmful anymore, she's not attacking anymore. And they're fighting over should we kill her or not. And one of the guys says, no, she's harmless, so why kill her? And I think he's even also a bit in love with her by now. So they're asking us for our opinion, and we're going to tell them that they should kill her because she's still the enemy. And when we tell them to kill her, they immediately do so. They kill her and she drops dead. Consequence here is that one soldier that was infatuated with her is now mad at us, and he's going to work against us in the near future. If we would have told him to not kill her, the love potion would have worn out, and she would actually just become an orc female again and kill the two guys. And just keep on walking alongside the beach, and here is actually one of the bosses of the orc invasion. So they're slowly raiding the town, and his idea was now to use these suicide bombers here to blow up people in the town. So if you don't know magic, these guys are impossible to fight against because they don't react to normal arrows. And if you want to smack them with a sword, you actually have to stand right next to them, and you will also die in the explosion that causes. But what the orcs don't know in the beginning of the game is that you also know magic. So we can either, for instance, make it rain, which will it will disable their fuses so they go out, or we can use a fireball on them. And first of all, so this guy is actually the voodoo doll of Elio. There's Elio, so if I use the voodoo doll, he takes damage. He doesn't know what's happening, and he's almost less than half of his health. And I'm using a fireball on the suicide bombers, which will create a chain reaction. And now Elio completely panics and says, oh no, what did you do to my suicide bombers? And he runs off. Now these two orcs also took damage from the explosion, so now they're a lot easier to fight. So why are we doing combat turn-based, and why with all the four elements and stuff? The idea is that we're going to challenge the players to find one of the many solutions that is better than just going in there and hacking away at people. So we want the players to use their skills and their magic skills. We want them to use the environment and all the items that are in there, and we want them to observe the behavior of the enemies and see what spells they know, so that you know the counterspell, or not use anything that they have a counterspell for. So it could be that in one fight you die a couple of times because you still haven't thought of the perfect tactic. Of course, it's still a role-playing game, so you can choose your skills freely. It's also a classless game, so you don't have to choose wizards or warriors or whatever. So there are always a couple of different options. For instance, with the orc fight, there was also a couple of puddles of water, etc. To finish the presentation, I'm showing you a movie of one of the tools that we're using to build this world. And we're also going to give these tools to the players so that they can make their own adventures and share them with the community. And we hope that lots of people will make cool adventures and share them around. That was Original Sin for you.